How can society move forward in the West while keeping tabs on the past so that we don't get off track? My city, Vancouver, originally a sawmill community, was incorporated as a town in 1886. 2 weeks later, a fire wiped out virtually everything. The buildings constructed afterwards gave a snapshot of the city's ethos and aspirations. Echoes of Greco-Roman architecture are seen throughout the city's early buildings. On the coast of the Pacific Northwest, it was a small, far-off post of the sprawling British Empire. A year later, however, it turned into a hub for international trade, as the end station of the railway that crossed Canada, making its water trade port highly valuable. Overnight, Vancouver turned into a very wealthy city. Replacing an earlier chateau-style building, the rebuilt Canada Pacific Railway Station features a colonnaded portico outside. The Grand Main Concourse or Great Hall also has neoclassical elements, including columns surrounding it. Completed in 1910, the Dominion Building boasted being the tallest building in the British Empire. The historic Vancouver Courthouse, now the Vancouver Art Gallery, designed by Rattenbury, opened. The main entryway has 5 Greek-style columns with a triangular pediment. The Sun Tower, surpassing the Dominion Building in height, became the British Empire's new tallest building. Pacific Central Station opened in 1919. Its entrance has Greek-style columns with a pediment, and the facade is lined with columns on either side of the entrance. A number of apartment buildings from this era too have these Greco-Roman elements. Here's a school too, constructed on the basis of Greco-Roman architectural elements. What is all this saying? The movers and shakers of early Vancouver were claiming to have proud roots in the heritage of ancient Greeks and Romans. What did those ethnic groups originally do? Well, they conquered the known world, imposing their values wherever they went. When Alexander the so-called Great conquered from Egypt to India, he brought with him Greek philosophy, nudity, homosexuality, and pedophilia. The Roman Empire too was massive. Throughout it were temples to Jupiter, often containing a statue of Ganymede, the youth from Troy, whom Zeus in mythology abducted and forced to be his homosexual boy lover and slave in Mount Olympus. Greek philosophy, nudity, and homosexual child abuse go hand in hand. This is historical fact. In Plato's Symposium, Pausanias claimed that what distinguishes cultured Greeks from uncultured barbarians is the Greek love for philosophy, nudity, and the sexual abuse of boys. Something he calls boy love. In his speech, Socrates actually places child sexual abuse at the center of the path to so-called philosophical enlightenment. Did you catch that? According to Socrates and Plato, philosophical love is homosexual child abuse. Vancouver is very different than, say, Calgary. That city began as a police fort protecting the indigenous population while being situated on treaty land. All of the province of Alberta is treaty land. James Douglas, however, in 1858 unilaterally proclaimed British Columbia to be a colony of the British Empire. Thereafter, British interest in relations with indigenous peoples cooled. Nudity in sculpture, which comes from the Greeks, is rampant in many European cities owing to historical developments like the so-called Renaissance and the so-called Enlightenment. In my city, it is rare. The Sun Tower has women bearing their breasts, as well as the entrance to this apartment building from the early 1900s. Nevertheless, Vancouver has become a seedbed for homosexuality. Political forces in Vancouver have actively pushed for homosexuality federally since the 1990s. Their efforts have been successful. Historically speaking, pedophilia is next. Are you ready? What do Alexander the Conqueror, Roman emperors, and James Douglas have in common? Taking control of others and forcing them to comply, especially those that are materially or technologically weaker or dependent, and this can be done where the person being taken advantage of seems to think that this is a good thing. Is there another way? The first major European settlement in British Columbia was Fort Langley, a trade company's fort. There were no churches there for decades. Calgary, however, had a strong Christian presence early on. Wherever Christian missionaries have gone, truly showing up in the character of King Jesus, along with whatever knowledge they bring, societies have greatly benefited and flourished. William Carey, also British, enriched India with a wealth of education, resources for indigenous languages, a publishing house, horticulture, and much more, including assisting in the abolishment of sati, the traditional practice of burning widows alive with their husbands. Another Brit, James Fraser, enriched the Lisu people indigenous to the Yunnan province of China. Bruce Olson, an American, brought enormous benefit to the Motilon people of Colombia. Time doesn't permit us to go into all of the details. Those who follow Alexander bring with them domination and control. Those who follow King Jesus offer friendship and knowledge without coercion. The heritage of King Jesus is the brightest light in Western civilization. His own life was perfectly consistent with what he taught. Unwilling to use his power to force others to do what he would like them to do, he allowed them to do to him what they would. This came to an ultimate conclusion when he was put to a cruel death, an unjust death on a cross. But even then, in goodwill, he cried out to God the Father to forgive those executing him. Interested to learn more? Come take a course with me this summer on examining the two foundations of Western civilization. I think you will not be disappointed. And in fact, I'll allow you to register and take the course, and after 2 weeks, if you're not satisfied, you can simply cancel, and I'll give you back your money, complete tuition, without any questions. You can just have that back if you're not satisfied.